automotive landscape certainly has changed since I purchased my first car way back in the early 1990s. Yes, I am that old. Funnily enough, I suppose my first car was actually a 10-year-old almost Mazda CX-3. My buddies, well, they had, are you ready for this? A Chevette, a Rabbit, and a few other small cars. Obviously, these were all used purchases. Now, we graduated to, say, slightly bigger cars like a Volkswagen Jetta from the second generation, and Honda Civics, Toyota Corollas. And, well, depending on how old you are, there's a strong likelihood, if you're in your mid-30s, for example, that your first car was actually, say, a Golf, a Corolla, or a Civic. Now, let's just say you're doing a little bit better than I was when you were younger, shopping for your first car, and you want a new one. Well, with the possible exception of said Honda Civic and Toyota Corolla, there's a very, very strong likelihood that you're shopping for something like this 2021 Mazda CX-3. Now, when I say the automotive landscape has changed tremendously in the last 100 years, well, that's because these subcompact and small SUVs have taken over from, well, what tiny cars used to be, which are microscopic today in comparison even to the subcompact CX-3. Now, in this segment, there are loads of options, from the Chevy Trailblazer to the Hyundai Venue. I'm skipping over so many, I can't think of them all right now. Nissan Qashqai, which I just recently reviewed. There's also the Nissan Kicks and Toyota CHR. The list is actually very, very long. Now, this week, as I've just mentioned, I'm reviewing a 2021 Mazda CX-3, and to be frank, it's as good as I remember it ever being. It does have some shortcomings, obviously, right? There are certain things it can and certain things it can't do, but the things that it does do, it does them quite well. Follow me? Please do, actually. We'll do the little tour, and then we'll go for a little drive, and you'll probably find out and realize that even though these little SUVs are small on the outside, they're really big on personality. Now, if we're to focus on personality, for starters, let's just talk about design. I mean, Mazda's Kodo design language now is a few years old, and I think you'll have to agree with me that it is aging quite well. I love this vehicle's proportions, styling, tall, narrow stature. It looks very dynamic. I love the large flares on it. A lot of people kind of disagree with the flare or the use of flares on a vehicle like this, which is essentially a Mazda 2, that's wearing some clothing that's a little bit too big for it. But if I get back to the, Kodo design language, this thing still really, really looks good. There isn't a poor angle on it, even when filthy the way my tester actually is. In the US, pricing is very simple, actually. There's the Sport model, which starts at $20,790, and onto that, you pack on options. In Canada, it's a little bit more complex because we appreciate our small cars a little bit more. Base price for a GX is $21,300. It's actually that little expensive because you can have it with a 6-speed manual transmission to start. There's a GS, which starts at $23,650, which is in fact what I'm testing this week. I am so excited just by the fact that this isn't the $31,100 GT. For the most part, most of the vehicles I review are usually the top trims. But this, because it's a GS, although it does have options, is probably one version of the CX-3 you might be considering, or even driving for that matter. Included with the base model, you get a 7-inch display, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's pretty much all there. But what makes the GS so interesting, and I'll show it to you in a few moments, it's got the standard heated steering wheel, heated seats. My tester does have the custom appearance package, which includes leatherette and suede on the inside. Final price is still a very reasonable $26,150. because it includes all-wheel drive, which is an absolute must. It's a $1,500 option, if you will, on the GS and the GT. We'll do the quick tour as per the usual. Okay, so if we get back here, hopefully I'll get it the first time because it's hidden. There we go. So the trunk. According to Mazda, that's 17.8 cubic feet or 504 liters of space. You know, maybe I can see, look, it's deep. The lower shelf here actually has 2 levels to it. So right now it's in a lower level and you can sit it up here so you have some nice under floor storage. But as is, it's not that bad. It's useful, it's deep enough, but certainly, and look, without hesitation, that is probably the CX-3's weakest link, if you will. But the interior certainly is not. This is the optional leatherette and suede interior, which is gorgeous. Look at this. And it's actually fairly supple, very comfortable. Ingress and egress for such a small vehicle isn't that bad. Look how, you know, high the roof line actually is, and the cutout is pretty big. So getting in and out is fairly easy. Now, my driving position is a shot of the dash. Look, you actually get the suede on the dashboard. Isn't that nice? I really, really like that. So in here, legroom, snug. If your passenger on that side kind of has longer legs, it gets even tighter. And if you want to squeeze 3 across, it will be slightly difficult. Headroom is also, you know, a little on the snug side. But again, this is a subcompact SUV, right? Crossover SUV, call it what you will. But definitely you will fit 2 people back there, and it won't be that terrible even for a longer journey. But obviously this is where you want to sit at all times. Again, look at these seats. Look at the bolstering, the supports, and they look so good. Getting inside the CX-3, I'll start her up. Oh, well, look, you come face to face with what you have to expect at this price point and in this category. But look at it. Analog speedo, you get a little digital tack here and a few different readouts. There's your 7-inch screen, which, as you may or may not know, is touch sensitive when you're not moving. If you're moving, you have to access through this wheel. But quite honestly, it's actually fairly intuitive and quick to work out. You have some shortcut buttons over here. What I do like about Mazda, it's always no nonsense. You know, sport or off. That's it. Your 6-speed automatic transmission. Very, very simple. HVAC control rotary wheels. I got this. Heated steering wheel, heated seats, and look, the fit, finish, the quality aspect is better than many vehicles in this segment and price point. Visibility is pretty damn good, to be quite honest. The A-pillar and this little block-off plate here do make the base look very wide, but look at the size of the opening right here. So you can actually see quite well. You're not exactly sitting very high. This is about my eye level, but still, visibility is good. The driving position is excellent. Speaking of driving, let's do exactly that. I don't know why I just did that. I apologize. I'm thinking back to like my introduction, and I said, you know, it does things well, it does other things not so well. I kind of maybe set that up in an overly negative way. I mean, yes, it's snug back there, but you can't expect anything else from a vehicle this size. So in fact, it's not entirely negative. The only other negative aspect is in relation to what's under that still handsomely sculpted bonnet. Naturally aspirated 4-cylinder 2-liter engine, 148 horsepower, 146 pound-feet of torque, and I'm about 2/3 of the way to the floor when I just did that. Yeah, the downside, it's common for Mazda vehicles actually. Their engines do get very, very noisy. I mean, even under light loads, and it just gets worse if you want to pass on the highway or if you want to do any type of spirited style driving. In a way too, I can't fault it for this. That's about half throttle. It is a little bit, power is adequate. I mean, I know in North America we love power and all of this, but it's not entirely necessary. However, when you're merging on the highway and say there are two adults and you have a little bit of stuff in the back, your foot will hit the floor quickly if you're trying to do, say, an 81 to 120 kilometer an hour passing maneuver. But thankfully, the standard with all-wheel drive 6-speed automatic transmission is absolutely designed, I don't want to say to be beaten, but it rolls with the punches. It actually enjoys being pushed, and that's very much in line with how Mazda engineers its cars to be driven. Unfortunately, I'm at a stoplight now, but we've had a fair amount of snow earlier this week, and look, Mazda's iActive all-wheel drive system, as always, feels primed and always on the go, or on the ready, I should say, to just obey to whatever it is you might need. Forward momentum, with torque vectoring, and when you're going around a bend, even when it's wet or slippery or icy. That is definitely one of the best aspects of the CX-3, and that's the driving experience. And compared to most other vehicles in its category, some are plusher, some are softer, some might be a little bit firmer. Look, this got independent suspension in the front, torsion beam in the rear, even with the all-wheel drive. But it's a beautiful balance, even on my broken Greater Montreal area roads. It's a wonderful balance between handling and comfort. It is not cosseting. There is no plushness engineered into these dampers, but it's very entertaining. And I think in many ways, very much in line with who the potential buyers may be. I mean, even as an empty nester, if you want something small, all-wheel drive, well-appointed and handsome, this is not punishing at all. So what am I saying? Qashqai and kicks, I'll just jump right into it. I do enjoy them quite a bit, but they do have one crucial flaw, and yes. So, you know what it is. Hyundai Venue, I do enjoy as well. The Kona is certainly a very cool option. I'm trying to think about everything. All the names and ideas are crashing. The smaller Jeeps are just not that fun, not that reliable. There's always the Honda HR-V if you absolutely want trunk space. The CHR is a flop. It's different, and that's about it. So in the segment, if you exclude all cars, I hope I'm not forgetting any obvious choice. The Ford EcoSport, which I like to remind myself and anybody who's listening or reading that it's neither eco nor sport. Speaking of eco, you can average about 8 liters per 100 kilometers with this, and most of the driving actually has been, well, most 75% highway. I'm still doing a little over 9 liters per 100 kilometers. You know what? Fault my right foot for that. So essentially, in your top choices, well, the Honda HR-V is always up there. I'm really a big fan of that, and I do like the Nissan Kicks, no matter what other issue it may have. But on top of it all, when new, please understand, when new, I like the Kona. I don't know that it'll be reliable that much after 3 or 4 years. So if you're going to lease one of these, maybe that's an interesting option. But I think really the bottom line is this, if you don't need that much space, or an HR-V if you need space. And done.